Right. Set. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, and you know what that means. It's Fantabulous Friday. Good morning, everyone. This is Carol, so aka Naughty Boss, live with two
Sisters. Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Janis, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, and my lighting is a little off. I forgot to turn, excuse me, turn on the upper, the light on the ceiling, but no biggie. What is a biggie for me are so many little things, and I am just going to start off by saying, how do I go about saying this? To the big effing a-hole schmuck who broke into my car this morning. Thankfully, nothing was taken. We don't leave anything in there anyways, but it's just, I pray for them.
Yeah, did they break a window? What happened?
It was the one time that Gary didn't lock my car.
Oh, so they just opened the door. They didn't do any damage.
No damage, nothing. But in my mind, it was just very unsettling because I'm up very early. I think I was down here by about 4:45 or so. And I walked to the kitchen on the other side. I'm downstairs now. I heard some weird sounds. So I'm looking out the garden window or whatever you want to call it there. And I'm like looking, and I'm like, boy, that's weird. Went to get whatever it was, came back, and I heard more sound, and I look out again, but there's, the garage jets out. So the line of sight is blocked a little bit. And just then I heard a car like speed away. And I'm like,
what about your security system?
That's in the process of being up and running. So
I thought you had
yeah.
one. Okay.
Yeah, we did, but we had to like reboot everything. He just finished installing the last camera.
So fumbling through. So you knew.
Yeah, they, kind of ransacked it, but again, no big deal. It's just an unsettling thing that it's just unsettling.
Well, that's not the way to start out Fantabulous Friday, but like you said, the good thing that came out of it, nothing was stolen. Yes, it's unsettling, and those things can happen, but just goes to show you in the middle of a neighborhood, there are people that are desperate. It could be that they're, I try to look at, why somebody would do that. Maybe they were looking for extra change, extra money for, a cup of coffee, gas. I mean, we know gas is kind of kooky right now. So you just don't know what people's motives are. But the sad piece is we've witnessed so many of those kinds of crimes, not necessarily ransacking a car, but going into, normal stores with no one intervening. Plenty of people, filming it, but no one intervening from a security standpoint where they're just going up to counters. And, even like when you go to the counters at certain stores where things may be locked behind like that plexiglass, and they're like manhandling that and shaking it to the point where they can get the product that's behind it. And they literally walk in with little to no attention from any type of security or ownership of the business to say, call 911, but you got people filming it. And I think we're getting to the point where we're almost, and it's happened rampantly all over many states. And I think we're getting to the point where which is kind of sad, where we're getting immune to it. And we should never be immune to someone invading someone's personal space, business space, and really public space, in the sense of where, you were a shopper maybe at a store and somebody ran by you and just started grabbing things and you're witness to it. And people are so afraid to intervene because you never know whether the person has a weapon. There's a lot of crazy people out there, but I think it's unsettling that we're getting immune to it as well.
Yeah. And I think, part of that too, like I said, the unsettling feeling is they, obviously saw the light come on and saw me walk and look out. I obviously did not see them. So, you know, there are a lot of what ifs. So in that respect, I feel blessed and grateful, because what if they got spooked? You know, what if they were armed and thought I was coming out and decided, you know, to use whatever weapon they had? Now, I know that's far-fetched. I get it. But I'm blessed and grateful that it happened the way that it did. There was no damage. Yeah, there's a pile of change in there that I like to use for coffee when I, you know, I'm on the road, or, you know, as I'm going to filling it, whatever. God bless them. That's all I have to say, because if you have to bring yourself, you have to wonder the mindset of someone like that, that they are that desperate that they feel they need to break into someone's car. But it also asks the question, what else are they doing? Well, obviously they're up to no good. And it's just very unsettling, very, I don't know.
Yeah, it is, because again, it's an invasion of privacy. And anytime you come into contact with something, or in that type of situation, you do the what ifs. It's very natural. It's very normal for, you know, the way our, you know, human emotions work. So it is a little unsettling. But to switch the gears a little bit, I just received, you know, it's so funny. We always share different things that we're passionate about. And obviously I've shared my work working with a parents group and really showcasing what is going on in a particular district, because, you know, anything that impacts children who do not have a voice in the system, in the sense of, you know, who represents them, who's speaking for them, who's really looking out for them. Last week I found out that the state of New Hampshire is actually putting a proposal through their state to ban divisive concepts within public schools. It's an initiative. And what I mean by that is that would be the introduction of indoctrination of either sexualizing, grooming children through SEL, social emotional learning, which has been around for years. But there's a new feel to the SEL, which incorporates sexual education, where sexual education, there's nothing wrong with that in the appropriate setting, obviously in high school. But what they're doing is not the sexual education that we would have like from years ago. This is really a whole other level of where parents and grandparents and stakeholders and businesses are concerned with what is the root of it. And we're finding more and more that a lot of it is rooted through PP, plans. Think of the next word, which has been around for decades. But when you think about why they came into to be, it had to do with abortions, but now it's leading into other things. And, you know, again, it's kind of want to follow the money. But I just received word that Mansfield, a town in Massachusetts, which I'm happy. And again, you look at the different states' ideologies, you know, political aspirations, political pull. And obviously there are some states that are Democrat, some states that are Republican, and then some states that are extremely one way or the other. I would put a hand out to say that Massachusetts leans more one way than the other. But anyways, a proposed town is actually putting a town meeting article that would ask voters to prohibit the teaching of divisive concepts about race and sex in Mansfield public schools, an initiative that echoes similar moves that have been made in states nationwide. Among the provisions in the 3-page article would be a ban on teaching that an individual, by virtue of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously. A teacher violating that ban could face discipline. Now, we know with any profession, because we talk about this numerous times, especially over the last 2 years, there are bad apples in any profession. There are bad apples in physicians, there are bad apples in lawyers, there's bad apples in management of a company, there's bad apples in law enforcement, there's bad apples in dentistry, eye vision, insurance. So it doesn't matter. There's going to always be bad apples because what do we always say? Humans are perfectly imperfect. And, sometimes when you're faced with right or wrong, some people choose the wrong. So we know that exists. So when I talk about these issues, and some people have, oh my God, our teachers would never do that. For the most part, there's a lot of teachers that would not do that. So I want to be really clear on that. There are amazing teachers out there. They have a unbelievable job to do. And I think what's been really highlighted by parents, stakeholders, grandparents, and business owners is that they want to get back to teaching the basics of what a teacher should be doing. Your academics, your history, your science, your English, your language, your mathematics, because it is already proven. You can't deny the stats of that. The United States is falling behind in education because of where their focus has been going to. Now, this has been a drip for a while. This just didn't turn a switch. This just didn't happen overnight. This has been happening drip by drip over probably the last 5 to 10 years. We know that CRT is part of college professors' teaching of what CRT is, as well as the indoctrination piece to it. That's a given. That's been in colleges for a long time. CRT's been around for a long time. Again, things start to mold, like we talked about silly putty, mold into a different way, where now it is entering into the schools. But the basic argument has always been, oh, this school is not teaching that. It is not a course. On the college level, it is different, but in the K through 12th grade grades, it is not a course. It is exactly what I just read. It is really inserting an ideology, inserting a theory that by virtue of someone's sex, by their race, by their ethnicity, I can never say that one, ethnicity, national origin, religion, color, that they are inherently racist. That is not true and has never been true. Now, is there racism out there? Absolutely, but it's not in this vast amount that people are talking about. Does it exist? Of course it does. Does evil exist? Of course it does. Those are things that, again, have to touch upon the human emotion, but some of the times it's their surroundings. Now, most people, if they were to do a stat, do not teach racism within their family because that's usually where it starts from. You can go back different generations and point out which family member might have had those thoughts, but as the generations keep going and going and going, I would say the higher percentage of people teaching people that you judge a person by their character. Are they kind? Are they thoughtful? Are they open to meeting and playing and getting to know? And all those things that I just mentioned never even come to the picture. Of course it happens. And it's more so than not. The issue is that some people go after predominantly a certain type of community. Now, we know that especially the more rural the community is, no one depicts to where someone's going to live. People choose to live to a place for vast many reasons. Generally speaking, for really, I would say, since, I first got married and we had children, it was always about what the school systems were. And that's usually the driving force of why someone chooses to live. Now, some people just inherently live in the same town over and over again, meaning generation after generation. Of course that happens. Both the town that, Hartford and Charlton, Hartford and Cromwell, where we lived most of our lives outside of New York when we were younger, in New Haven. You generally will see families of generation after generation living in that same town. That frequently occurs. But when you have a family that does maybe they are relocating because of a job. Usually that's generally where it is. Or maybe a couple meet and, one is from a certain area and his profession takes him or her to that certain profession. So relocation, a family that relocates generally looks for the very first thing is education, because they want to know that, the school's got a good rating, got a great community support that has a partnership with the families, has a partnership with the community, and that is a driving force of the community. So those are the things that people will look at. So there are some towns that no one forces anyone to live in any certain area. That's just how it is. But I've noticed reading different articles across the United States from many, many different states that they are attacking predominantly certain areas. So what does that mean for, that parent that's really looking for that great school system? And it's usually based on what parents talk about the teachers. So most teachers got into their profession because they absolutely love teaching. It's one of those things that, if you're called to be a nun, a nurse, a priest, a minister, law enforcement, fireman, most of those types of positions, those professions, it's usually a calling. It just is. And they have this inner belief that they're going to make change, that they want to be a positive force in whatever that profession is. So when we talk about having something like this, having a proposal, an initiative, to actually have an article in a certain town, and this is going to end up happening probably statewide as well. I know New Hampshire is the first state that I've heard thus far that has it on their kind of their docket for a discussion and then obviously for a vote. It is because it is rapidly coming in, and there's a lot of teachers that are not comfortable with what is going on. We have a lot of teachers that have been in the teaching profession for 10, 15, 20 years. And they're like, no, this goes against everything they believe. They want to get to the basics. But there are a few, just like any profession, as I said, and I want to say bad apples, a few that have, I'm not saying that I can never tell another person that their belief systems are wrong. You can never do that because someone's belief systems are theirs. They own them. That is how they feel. You are not going to change them. The only person that's going to change them is themselves. And usually when you understand the underlying initiatives that lead to something even really dangerous, and I consider grooming children, sexualizing children very dangerous. I consider a teacher that is indoctrinating through talking about different, the government and or bringing in controversial, what they presume is kind of their political ideology and now inserting it into their classroom. That's dangerous because you're inserting a bias. And I think what's happening is there's layers of this to create little social activists within children. You start young, you indoctrinate their minds. And it is driven by money. There's a lot of money behind this. So I'm glad to see, I'm happy to see, and this makes Fantabulous Friday even more fantabulous, that there are towns that are saying, no, it is okay to have your belief system, but belief system belong in your own home. They do not have the right to infiltrate my child's mind, my grandchild's mind, the future generation's mind. Naturally, things develop. And as far as the sexual piece to that, then you have situations where you're talking about sexual pieces to that, right? You're talking about that right for the parent to have that what we call, remember back in the day, that conversation with their child about a little girl going through the changes that she goes through, little boys. Does that, and when you think back to those days, back to the days where, the hormones start kicking in, darn well that, if a dad or another little boy friend of yours got a hold of a Playboy magazine, you were the natural progression of a child's curiosity. Of course it comes in. So those things will always be there, but it still belongs in the place of that caregiver, that parent, that grandparent's right to know time and place. And that's what we always talk about, time and place. That's the parent's job. That's the caregiver's job to say, you know, we need to have that child, we need to have that family conversation with our child. It is not up to a teacher's responsibility. Now, that does not say that we should not have sexual education in the proper time and place, which would be age appropriate. And generally speaking, sexual education is usually upper middle school, like, you know, 7th to 8th grade, going into high school. That is when it's age appropriate, but a parent still has the right to know, okay, what exactly are you teaching? What are you talking about? If you're talking about, quote, the old-fashioned birds and the bees, reproduction, absolutely. Absolutely. But there is an initiative out there to not talk about the production system, production of human life, because that's not the narrative that Planned P wants to infiltrate. They want to make it easy and also to not show the human connection of life. Because what does that mean? That means more abortions. That means more hormonal treatment. That means more of, again, pushing an agenda, which the bottom line is pushed by money. So I'm so happy to hear. And there's also another initiative, I just got word, where it's kidsstopsocialism.com. And this is you're hearing more and more about students that are coming out that have a conservative mindset, that are coming out against, look at, we believe in choice, just like, when we talk about mandates with the mask, no one was against the mask per se, they wanted choice. Somehow, and that's what American freedom is about, it's about choice. So what has been happening is there's been an onslaught of children, students, especially I would say students at the high school level, that their conservative voice has been squished. Now, just like, more of a more ideology that maybe not be conservative, maybe more liberal, all voices should be heard, but you cannot have where it comes into play is if you have a teacher that is teaching a narrative, then again, if they're presenting both sides, like, you got a history class, let's talk about the different sides of our democracy. Those things, of course, you're presenting both sides. That's different than your personal bias. But if your personal bias as a teacher is now going to impact a student who has maybe more of a conservative mindset, and they're not free to speak their minds, you're not giving, say, equal leverage or equal time. And now they're giving, say, assignments that, say, have a slant to it. And if you don't fall in line to that, you're going to get a bad grade. That's a problem. And that occurs in many different subject matters. But if you want to, and I'm glad to see this kidsstopsocialism.com, because this is what it amounts to. It's socialism, people. Our country is not socialist, although you would have to scratch your head on that right now. But we're not. And we need to get back to the roots of our Constitution. We need to understand that you cannot get rid of bias. You cannot get rid of racism. That is a given, because that would be saying, like, well, we need to get rid of evil. You can't get rid of evil. There's a balance. You got good, you got evil, you got night, you got day, you got dark, you got light, you got right, wrong, lying, tell the truth. That's the humanity of the world. They kind of the back and forth of our inner emotions. You will never get rid of racism. But what you should be talking about and teaching is try to leave your biases at home as best you can, and teach about kindness, teach about fairness, communication, talk about people and their character, not the color of their skin, not their sexual orientation, not their religion, not the color of their skin. And you cannot tell a young child, because this is where it's filtrating. It's filtrating down now to the elementary levels, where a child is being told or taught that because they were born white, they're the dominant race of being the oppressor, and that if you are born other than white, that you're not going to amount to anything. You're going to be a failure. You have no dreams, no goals that you can go after because of the color of your skin. That's not what Martin Luther King stood up for. That is not what many white activists stand up for. Most people stand up for, you are the merit of your character. And, that's what it's about. I'm going to align myself with people that, want to pay it forward, like we talked about Wealth Wellness Wednesday. So I'm so happy to hear that there are towns that are saying, wait a minute, we've got school committees that are not taking charge of this problem. So guess what? We're going to make it our problem. We are going to make our town a shining example that we are not going to let this garbage enter into our school system. And we are going to make sure that there's some accountability. And I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome. And I want to comment. I'm going to save the bulk of my comments for a nighttime podcast, because I don't think that it's, because I know that some people do listen to this in the morning and have children around. A few swear words might come out, but I will say this. Let's get back to bases. Let's get back to teaching the basics and go back to the preambles of how our democracy was established, how all of that has brought us the freedom and the choice to choose for ourselves. And on that note, I will say this to all the air quotes bad people out there, because really, probably because of what happened this morning, like I'm just ready to roll it on out, but I am holding myself back. But what I will say, this is my message to you, you dumbasses infiltrating our children. You're dumbasses. Sorry, I said it, and I guess I did say a swear word there, but that's how
Isn't ass in the Bible?
Yeah, I believe it is.
I think so. So it's a Bible
But
word.
still, I will pray for you, because I do believe that there is a better union out there. I do believe in the greatness of hope, vitality. Even though your opinion doesn't agree with mine, I respect yours. I know you don't respect mine in many respects. And you know what? And I'm okay with that, but have the courage, to share with me, or, within your community, how you feel and why you feel that way. Be brave enough, be bold enough. And remember that, and, I frequently remind myself of this, opinions are just that. But if we can't agree on the basics of what the truth is, then I don't know. Well, I know what we are, but I can't say that. That would be a worse bad word. So that is my thought on all that crap, time and place for everything. And I'm not saying that, certain things should not be taught. Of course they were. We went through that when we went to school. But anyways, moving right along to another topic. And it's kind of ironic that the word of the day, I think I talked about this the other day. I go to my word of the day. Today's word of the day is furor, F-U-R-O-R. It is a noun. Great emotion, either positive or negative, shown by a crowd of people. And let me tell you, I'm a lion right now, and I'm ready to roar. So want to hear from you what your thoughts on these different topics are. And I just want to say something about something. So I was telling Carol Sue this the other day. Every 2 to 3 months, I kind of do, I guess, an audit or whatever of the podcast and I do a Google search. I search different things, excuse me, to see where we're popping up, if we're popping up. And there's a whole lot of popping going on. So we are, and what I mean by that is, and I'm still in the process of verifying all this stuff, because even though we are on like over 30 different platforms, I want to physically see it. Like, I want to report it accurately. Oh, somebody who wants to report something accurately. So that's exciting. And we are now on Amazon Music. We are on Good Pods. Those I know absolutely positively we are there. I understand we are also on Kindle, but I haven't seen that pop up. I'm not sure how to look for that. I do have Kindle. So if anybody does see that, let me know. some of them Podchaser, Castbox, Curiocaster, Google, Overcast Web, Player FM, like the list goes on, and it amazes me in a way. And I'll tell you, and this is going to segue into tomorrow. It amazes me that, having the ability to share what we are passionate about has reached all over the world. For instance, tomorrow we're doing a Saturday podcast. We haven't done that probably in about a year and a half or more.
Sailing into Saturday.
Yeah, Sailing Saturday. And Dr. Anthony Kaveh, who is a board certified anesthesiologist, happened to come across our podcast and emailed us. So we're really excited to have him on, and I will make sure that I post the graphic for that, so people will know. We'll be on at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, and he really has some amazing insight, obviously from a medical standpoint on what he does, but he has a spin on it. And
oh yeah, well, we were actually interviewing him. He and I believe we actually interviewed, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive we interviewed him on a Monday. I may not be exactly right, but
no, it was a Saturday. Yeah, it was a Saturday because
oh, that's right, because it was an odd time, and I remember, right, that's right, it was a Saturday, because of his schedule. Obviously, he's a anesthesiologist. He's a busy man, and it's one of the things, and we'll obviously get more into it tomorrow, and I don't want to give too much away, but what we've talked about over really the last 2 years, relaying health from a perspective of the medical professional who went to school, has a degree, versus really having that connection from the mindset of a patient and or different methods to their madness, to not only maybe get a good result, even a better result. So I love the subject matter that we're going to be chatting about tomorrow. So like right up my alley. And I love to hear directly from someone with his profession and his degree and what he does for a living. I'm an anesthesiologist.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so amazing. And then the other thing I found, which I really thought was quite interesting, we wound up into 2 digital newspapers. One of them being out of India, called News R, and somebody from India is obviously watching us. That's getting a lot of hits, and they took the video from they get our information from Rumble. And by the way, our videos, YouTube, Rumble, and
BitChute, yeah. BitChute is really making it's Mark. I mean, Rumble really has been rumbling, let's be real. But BitChute's really picking up with a lot of different podcasters and whatnot. And, the point being is we always talk about that we wanted to showcase what we're passionate about. We had, we didn't know then, and we still don't know now, where this goes, where it takes us, what other journey. And we are ever changing, not only in our subject matters, we go down all these different rabbit holes of what, you just never know. And the blessings of all of that are the fact that, we are reaching people that we would never thought was really within our capability. And now we are going to be interviewing this doctor who I'm super excited about.
Yeah, so. What I thought was amazing about it too. He's obviously listened to several of our podcasts, and I thought after we got out, especially after we got off of that interview with him, like, wow, this is one busy guy who was inspired by our podcast. I was just, I had to take that in for a moment. I really do.
And I think that leads into that thing that we always talk about. Like there's all the subject matters we talk about, whether it's the school systems, whether it's what's going on in our country, our own communities, what people are eating, what's trending for equipment, for fitness. Everything impacts our health and wellness. When you really look at your life, your journey, how you sleep, what you eat, what kind of activity, what kind of mindset do you have? What are you surrounding? What are you passionate about? What are you not? Ways to spark that by journaling, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves with our mind and making sure like we recognize and read our bodies. These are all important factors that impact our life. And I'm so excited that we keep introducing more and more subject matters, because a lot of people say, well, you're health and wellness. Everything's about health and wellness. Everything impacts our mind and our bodies when you really kind of look at the broad spectrum. And it always ends up, connects the dots. And I love that.
Yeah. And speaking of connecting the dots, how will you connect the dots? How will you create your rumble in the world? And on that note, my name is Janis, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, and I'm with TwoSistas,
and this is Carol, so aka Naughty Bus, live from a nice sunny Vero Beach this morning. Super excited, got some things going on, and gonna do some water sports today. Gotta keep working out and winding down on the Ultimate Thriver. A few more weeks to go, and really feeling good and strong. And we hope that you are too. We will not see you Monday. Well, of course we will, but we are going to see you tomorrow. Saturday, we're going to sail into Saturday with an amazing guest speaker who's a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist. And that will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys have a fantabulous Friday. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Take care, everyone.
Bye now.